This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here are your hosts, Ryan Alford and Chris Hansen.
Hello, and welcome to Vibe Science. We're always taking you to your highest vibes. Chris Hansen and I bring you we're your guides. We don't do it all. That's why we bring our amazing guests. We don't know it all. We're learning just like you are. We want to take you to your highest vibe, which is mind, body, energy. We know this. It's not about just the mind. It's not just about what you think. It's about how you feel. It's about all three of those things working together. And we're trying to break all the walls down so that you are empowered to your best life. Chris, what's up, brother?
What's up, bro? How you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm ready to manifest magic. Just making the magic happen, literally. But we're also going to break down, some stereotypes or beliefs around what it takes to make these things happen. Because I think even me being the cynic of the group, doesn't like when we go down these too ethereal paths. We got to be practical. I do want us to be practical with what we bring. And that's why I'm excited with our guest today. It is Scott Haug. He is a manifest coach and healer. Scott, what's up? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. This will be awesome.
I know, excited. I said this, I'm going to go right at it, for our audience listening. My wife and I have these discussions all the time. And it's kind of become a joke in the house a little bit because I give her shit. I'll be like, I'm going to manifest this to happen, baby. She, rolls her eyes at me because she's a principal of a middle school administrator, but been in the school system her whole life. So everything is very structured. And so the idea of manifesting, I think, gets in this land that she just can't wrap her head around. And I'm sure you deal with that a lot, don't you?
Yeah. Skepticism, I love it, actually. People will be like, oh, the skeptics, those are the ones that don't believe. But I actually think be a good skeptic first, because why are you going to believe in some hocus pocus stuff? You're like, yeah, let's go manifest. And it's like magic and it's not going to work. Well, you're just going to feel pretty frustrated and disappointed. So I think skepticism is pretty healthy. And then you learn more about it. And then you're like, okay, this makes a little more sense.
It does. But I mean, at the same time, there's some practicality in this because, and Chris and I use the gym discussion all the time. You go to the gym and it's hard. You don't see results immediately. But if you don't think, if you're going to lift a weight or try to do something, if you tell yourself that you can't do it, you sure as hell won't.
Yeah.
But if you tell yourself you can, it doesn't magically make it happen in that very moment, but you eventually get there because you believe you will get there. Isn't that what it's about? Belief?
That's exactly it. We were talking a little bit about this, but it's not like a magic tale or a sci-fi movie. A lot of those movies really make these mind telepathy, different ideas, and it looks cool and looks magical, right? But it's really about believing over time, over the next 3 months, 90 days, 120 days. Where is your mind set? Where is that attitude? Where are you pointing your focus? And that's really all about the belief. So if I believe I'm going to do it, I'm at least going to attempt it, number one. If I really want it, I'm going to practice at it. And then if I really desire it, this is a no-brainer, I got to have it, I'm going to put everything I got into it. So you're increasing the probability that you're going to get towards the goal. And that's really the first element of manifesting is how do I increase the probability that this outcome, this goal is going to come closer to me as I come closer to it. I think that's the first stage, at least.
I like that. Getting the closeness factor, because if you distance yourself, because when we have these limiting beliefs, and I believe this in business and everything in my life, I have moments. I think I have fewer than most people because I'm generally a very positive kind of person, and just I just don't let misery. I know misery loves company, but I just kind of don't wallow in it. I just turn it into a challenge even when shit's going rough. But if you separate yourself from the success or the goal and empower something or someone else, it will surely have a negative power over you reaching it. We we kind of give, and that's what I love about this show. We're trying to empower people because the reality is we have empowered so many other outside variables in our life and our health and our wellness and our well-being by the doctor will take care of that, or this person will take care of that. But you have to bring yourself into the empowerment circle of your own, I don't know, wellness journey, beliefs, success. We distance ourselves from it. I don't know why.
Yeah. I think a big part of that distancing is safety. Even though it sounds a little weird at first, but the more we talk about it, it's going to make more sense because, well, let's talk money business. You brought up business. It's a great thing. When people especially become entrepreneurs, we all know it's a hard game. It's a long journey to play. If you have these money limiting beliefs in your mind, it sets you so far back from the average person or where you want to go goals wise, right? Worthiness. Is it okay to have a ton of money? Is it okay to expand that big, right? We have all these weird questions that go on in mind, but money's just a thing. It has nothing to do with worthiness or anything else, right? But what it does is like money, especially in like a childhood trauma, if you're around a lot of poverty and it seems like when you have wealth, it's unsafe because maybe you heard things about wealthy people not being good in some sort of way, which is of course ridiculous, right? But we associate unsafety with wealth or success or these big things, right? So these associations create this distance. And then when it comes really close and we start to have a lot of good happen, a lot of people self-sabotage, gone, right? They go backwards because of that feeling of unsafety. So it's unconscious. We don't consciously think I feel unsafe around having a wealth or abundance of money, but it's a subconscious programming that's creating that association of distance, I think, overall.
Chris, I know we've talked about this a lot. Ironically, we do another show on business and we're talking about this very thing, this related to business and mindset and positivity versus absorbing negative news and everything like that, and how people get caught in it. Chris, I know you're a big believer in it.
Yeah. I mean, especially I've become a lot more, I would say, intentional where my focus is going the last few years. I mean, definitely with the news, that's just the easiest example I think we can all recognize, right? Is like, no one watches the news and calls and is like, hey, dude, I just had this really great thing I heard on the news I want to tell you about. Like maybe 20 years ago, you'd see some local great story, right? But that's the biggest thing I would say, easiest example of just something I shield myself from. It's just drawing my energy away from me. It's not getting me closer to my goals of what I intentionally want to focus on. And something you guys said earlier of like how much focus or how much effort are you putting into these things. The first thing I thought of is like, you can't go to the gym once a week and expect like your life to change immensely, and that's the same dedication that you need to have, say, to go exercise 5 days a week. You need to have intentionally focused on whatever it is you're trying to manifest in your life or whatever you want to call it. I just think intentional focus is very underrated. And I think the difficulty right now is, I don't know if it's social media, but our phones, right? Our attention is hijacked constantly. That not only do you need to be intentionally focused, but you need to be actively playing offense against everything we want to do, just kind of programmed now. Like pick up the phone, do this, and I know we'll get deeper into techniques and whatnot later, and we can talk more about that. But I just think we're extremely overstimulated, and part of what we all need to do is just slow it down a little bit, right, and sit with ourselves.
Yeah,
Scott, let's set the table for everyone. Let's I love that we're just getting right into it. We do want this to be about action, and we'll have links to Scott's complete life journey, but maybe you set the table just a little bit about what you do and your background as we build to some practical tips.
Yeah. Well, where I started was completely the opposite. I actually went to university for engineering. I was an aeronautical engineer just because I was good at math and science. So, getting into the corporate space, I was like, hell no. Like my soul just felt it. I was like, this is not going to work out in a cubicle, 9 to 5, just wasn't there. So I ventured down that entrepreneur route, but I realized like I wasn't doing well as an entrepreneur. I tried a lot of different business models, a lot of different things, a lot of different ideas, all the different things you hear out there. And something dawned upon me. There were some videos that came up, these motivational videos. That's where I started. And this one speaker, I'll say his name in a moment, but I had no idea who he was, but he's like, it's possible. You can live your dream. You can do something different with your life. I never heard anybody talk like that before. Mm-hmm. So I was like consumed by these motivational videos, going to the gym, just listening to them, just getting fired up. And that was where I started with this personal development, because it felt like, yeah, I like to be a victim here. Like, even if I came from lower middle class, or even if I came from this area, like, I don't have to necessarily keep going that level, keep going that path, right? So I was consumed by these videos. That's Les Brown, the great motivational speaker I kept listening to over and over. And then once I started down this personal development path, I started to feel happier in my life. And before that, I was really down and out, depressed. Like, I didn't even know why, but I just didn't want to look at myself in the mirror. I felt like I was criticizing myself. I had that inner critic that was so loud, judging myself. I should be more successful than I am. And every time I listened into these videos, or I picked up a self-help book, I found Think and Grow Rich, or I found all these books, I'm like, there's got to be something good in this, because it's making me feel so good. It makes me feel better about me, that I'm expanding. Right? And this one guy came into my life at that time, featured in The Secret. His name was Bob Proctor. And ever since I heard Bob Proctor in those videos, I'm like, I want him to mentor me, and I want to be a coach for him. So I made that decision. That was my entire visualization every night, seeing myself being a coach for him and getting involved with what he was doing. And everything that I had visualized over the next 12 to 18 months came exactly true. I was able to become a top 10 coach under him, start doing 10, 20, 30,000 a month in revenue. Just things started to really pick up. I was living in LA at the time. It wasn't easy to go through all those trials and tribulations. Manifesting doesn't mean everything's like sunshine and rainbows, like, woo, everything's all good and easy. You still go through your tribulations, but you're going steady progress towards where you want to get to. So in that moment when I was a coach, I knew this is my purpose. This is what I was born to do. And I started mixing the science background I had with the metaphysics. So that's when it became practical. It was like, okay, the quantum fields and the electron basically having 99.99% empty space. It makes sense that it connects to metaphysics when we're thinking. Yeah. So that's what the start of the journey was. And then ever since then, I've been consumed by transformation, doing plant medicines, doing deep healing work, everything I could to transform. And that's what got me here now.
I love that. I mean, I used to think people couldn't change, but I have changed my tune on that. I think you can change. You just have to want to change. You can't fall in love with the idea of change, or that something or something is going to change you. You have to actually do the work and, again, take the empowerment in your own hands. And it's everything from the gym to your mental outlook to your finances and everything. And so I love it when I almost sense a peace with you, Scott, that, and I watched a lot of your content coming, before doing the show, and you've definitely found your lane.
Yeah.
Seems that way.
It was not easy at the start, because, anybody listening and that's like, what's my calling? What's my purpose? What's the meaning for my life? It's a huge question. I think it evolves over time, but the most important thing is to take that step. And that was that time, like, whatever feels almost like a curiosity or an interest. Like, I'm super curious about manifesting. I'm super curious about X, Y, and Z. I think that's where the opening is. And I'm so grateful that at such an early age, I was like, okay, I'm going to follow that curiosity. And that's what led me down that path, which I'm super grateful for. But you keep that door open to curiosity, it leads you to some interesting places.
So we like to make these practical, but before we ask you for some techniques, Scott, I love when, like our guests share success stories, like what you don't have to name names, but maybe, some examples of things, whether it's healing trauma or manifestation, people that you've worked with. What are like maybe some outcomes that would interest our audience, and just from work you've done?
Mm-hmm. Two come to mind instantly. Huge wins that my clients had. I've worked with about 2,500 clients now over 9 years. And these two were just like some of the best students because they had an open mind. That was number one. Like you said, you have to want it, right? You got to want transformation. You can't just sit on a couch watching Netflix and be like, yeah, well, it hasn't happened. Well, you kind of got to do something. Yeah. So the first one, his name was Brian. He was coming in. He was already an entrepreneur for a while. He's been doing some different business models and things, but he was always like hitting this glass ceiling all the time. He's like, I feel like I've done every marketing technique available. I've taken all the courses. I've gotten agencies to help me out, but I feel like no matter what I do, I'm constantly at this 20 grand per month revenue, just sitting there, right? And what we discovered was twofold. Number one, his model was based on marketers' ideas, not who he was, his own genius. And we needed to switch that. But number two, he had a trauma from his father that he was never good enough. Constantly over criticized, judged, it was never good enough. So what was going on is whenever we have a trauma like that, it's not the trauma that matters, it's what we made it mean when we were 5 or 6. I had another client who had a couple of older siblings. Every time they played the game of Monopoly, he lost. Well, he's age 5, right? They're not letting him win and he's just losing. But now he was 50 years old, 45 years later, and he's still thinking, I'm not good enough. I must be a loser. I can never win. I mean, that was from a game of Monopoly 45 years ago, right? So it's these crazy links that we live with until we become aware. So essentially what happens in the psyche is there's a split. There's that inner voice battle. You want your dreams, but this part of you makes sure it doesn't happen, right? So I worked deeply with Brian on these healing modalities and allowed us to go back to those places where his father was over criticizing. And we did some deep revision work. And he allowed the release of this association he was having. And now he could remember it, but there was no emotion to it. So if you can imagine a memory, it's clouded with all this emotion. We're able to take some scissors and snip the emotion away from the memory. So now the memory's there, but he's no longer affected by it. Immediately that month, he had his record month of 100,000 come in the business. We did change the techniques a little bit, like I said, but he did a launch that month. He's done launches before, but it was like he felt free. He felt like he had an inner knowing this was going to be better. It was more successful. And everything aligned serendipitously to make it work during that month. It was a huge thing. So we snipped some things and moved some things around, and that was a big one. And just a short second win there was, I had a client too that was struggling for so long on worthiness. And she was in deep depression for so long. Same idea. We're able to go in there. It's like doing energetic surgery, about 6 to 8 sessions every single week. It's very intense, usually very scary because it's that cave you fear to enter. Those shadows you want to look at, right? Those feelings that you want to see. And we're able to go in there. She cried almost every session. She released. But after 8 sessions, we did more work in 2 months than the last 20 years. And she had this deep inner peace and happiness. And she's like, Scott, this was like a miracle. Like, I can't even imagine why people don't know this stuff. Because when you know it and you do it, you know, the peace and the happiness is so worth it.
That's amazing. And it makes me go like, Scott, how do you find what it's the 45-year-old Monopoly thing? Was he that readily aware of it, or did you pull that out? Because I'm almost like, do people even know? Like sometimes there's like if you go to the airport and you're rolling around those luggage, you know what baggage you have. I know. I got 4 boys. Like we go I'm like, oh, come on, guys, let's go. But a lot of times you aren't even aware of the baggage you're carrying.
Yeah.
How do we find the luggage that's weighing us down?
Yeah. I love this question. It's so hard to look and understand the luggage. 2 things. Number one, this is on my mentoring clients, the work I do. I say, that's my job. I'm your dentist. You don't have to learn how to do your dentistry. I'll do that
good. I don't have
you.
to find the cavities.
Right. But if you don't have like a mentorship going, you can do it yourself for sure too. Okay. Here's the process. I take people through. You can do it yourself. It's super simple. It's just a little hard at first. You have to practice it. Number one, you find what's the recurring theme going on in your life. So identify that. That's easy enough. You can say, I always have abundance come in and abundance go out. So I have lots of money come in, money go out. I can't hold abundance. Okay. Maybe that's the theme. For him, it was, I just have a feeling like I'm never good enough. I'm a loser. It just doesn't work out. So it's his theme. So you find what that theme is. number two, once you find that theme, you close your eyes, you go to like a silent meditation just for a moment, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you can handle that day. You say, when else did I feel a similar way? Automatically, you're going to start to have some thoughts, maybe with your spouse. So I felt that way when we had that thing happen. I felt that way when I was a teenager. I felt that way when I was 6, 7 doing this thing. We're on vacation. This thing happened. So you trace back, you try and find at least 3 memories that are going on in there. And then as you do that, your subconscious mind will try and find answers for you whenever you're not even meditating. It's kind of like those inventors that go to bed, go to sleep, they wake up in the morning, they know the idea. Yeah. Your subconscious is always working. So you do those 2 steps, the third step's automatic. Subconscious will start serving up those memories. You might be taking a shower, doing your laundry, driving, when you're not thinking, and boom, you're like, no wonder. I had the same feeling when I was 6 when this happened, and that felt like the most dominant reason why I'm feeling this. So those 3 steps can make it very practical. You just got to do the work to do it. It's a little practice to do it. So.
That's interesting. And the reoccurring themes, that helps you get to it. And I think everybody, no matter what it is, no matter how big or small, if you really do the time to think about it and write things down and like take some accountability of it all, I think you'll find those themes. It seems like they'd be pretty apparent.
Yeah. Yeah. And, sometimes people know they're recurring themes, but again, they don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
Or they say, it's fine, or they put it to the side, but they've been doing that far too long. Yeah. So even before those 3 steps, almost like a little pre-work is, what am I not owning? What am I blaming for somebody else or something else? And if you can't find the recurring theme, if you start there, what am I blaming? Almost always that is always connected to it.
I keep coming back to this theme when I think about these things. It's like manifestation starts with introspection and like the inside and not the outside. Because I think everything we're coming up in a world that's sort of, you want to find what is causing this to me. What condition, like this is why I have this issue, but it's never internalized. Not because we don't want to. I just think we're being conditioned to blame isn't the exact word, but something in that realm. In introspection versus, I don't know if extrospection is a word, but I'm making up words. I think you know what I mean, Scott.
Yeah. I was working with a client the other day on this not too long ago, and it was about their relationship going on. He's like, I keep having this one thing. Every time she does this thing, things are happening this way, right? This little dance, this little pattern. And I was like, well, what are you mirroring back to her that she's mirroring to you? Because there's some sort of dance here, and you can't dance by yourself in this. It's a 2-handed dance.
Yeah.
So it's up to you to change the dance. So what habit, what mindset, what attitude are you bringing to this that's making that puzzle piece fit perfectly with what she's doing? Change the puzzle piece, it's not going to fit anymore, right? You're going to shock that part of it and really move into it. So you take a look at something like easy like that, and you can start saying, okay, well, if I'm able to look in the mirror, sometimes there's that ego that wants to come up and say, no, it's definitely her. No, it's definitely him. It's definitely right. But if you look in the mirror and you have that strength to say, well, let me see what I'm bringing to the table to attract this in, can start to open up everything.
I think this is hard to do alone. I think you got some job security, Scott, because I'm like I think this, if you're really going to go at this, I think you need a professional helping a coach or somebody, because it's just some of this stuff's deep.
Yes. Yeah. And, one thing I learned from doing even all the plant medicine I've done with ayahuasca and iboga and all of that, the shaman that has really brought me to a lot of this journey, and he said, if you don't have a guide and you don't have somebody really supporting you through these journeys, you can really get lost in them. And he was obviously talking about plant medicine, but I associate that even with life. It's like, if you don't have somebody to spot yourself in the picture frame, you're looking out from the picture frame, it's hard to see the details. And I do really believe in that even having a guide or having somebody, and even if it's not a paid coach, it can be a buddy, and say, hey, I want you to be blunt with me. Like, tell me what you're seeing. If I share something with you, don't always agree with me, and just say like, hey, what are you seeing in my life? And sometimes just having an outside perspective can really, put things in perspective in terms of awareness, what you're aware of inside of you for sure.
Scott, let's talk about some of those techniques, like when we're trying to make stuff happen. I know I've watched your videos. We'll have links to Scott's social channels. He's got some cool little exercises he's done, but I'm hoping you'll share a couple with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's start with the basics of manifesting first, and we'll do a practical 5 steps with it, right? The basics of manifesting, for anyone listening in, even if you've already heard this before, it's nice to go to the fundamentals, is whatever I'm holding in my consciousness, I'm going to tend to attract and bring in my life over time. So again, it's not magic. It's not like tomorrow I'm going to have $1 million on the table, gold bars, luxury gold house, right? It's not that magic. However, whatever I'm holding comes over time. So a 5-step process I bring all my members through. It's a very fundamental process. You could do it in 5 minutes a day and you will see results happen. Doesn't always mean huge magical results, but you'll see things starting to move. First step, you got to make a decision about what you want. Sounds simple enough, but we often kind of know what we want, but do we have it clear? And you write it down as if you already have it. So like, I now received an extra $1,000. Okay, great. I've decided, I've intended, and I wrote it down as if it's already mine, which is the key to attraction, is starting to live the part before it happens. So like, you're growing into your highest self-image and life is catching up. We got to believe it now. I'm the champion. I'm the champion boxer. I just won the gold medal in the Olympics, right? You hear these stories of athletes doing it. That's what we're doing here in money, business, relationships, etc. Step number 2 is you start to visualize. Your imagination is what connects all of this etherical side together. Now, this sounds a little complex, but if I use my example of everyone's got a cell phone practically, what's Bluetooth? Do you see it? What's Wi-Fi? I could call somebody in China right now and there's no wires connected, right? So there's something going on in the ether that we can't see. And 100 years ago, people would think you're insane, lock you up if you talked about what a cell phone is to them, right? But we believe it because it's here. So what if our minds were connected? What if we pondered the idea that our minds are connected in some sort of way? Our imagination would be the connection link. So you start seeing yourself with it. See the bank account increase by $1,000. See yourself in $1,000 in your hands, something of that nature. Step 3 is the activator. We need to feel it real today. That's why when you hear about affirmations or gratitude lists, you can do 1,000 affirmations today and it doesn't work. Why? Because if I don't believe it and I don't feel it and I don't put my heart into what I'm saying, it doesn't actually land in the subconscious. So step 3, you got to feel it. What would you feel if you had the $1,000? Relief, excitement, elation. Connect that image with the feeling. Step 4 is the hardest. It's you open up your eyes and you let it go. Oftentimes at this stage, people overthink. How is the money going to come? Where's that $1,000 going to come from? And is it going to come tonight, tomorrow? It's not here. Where is it? Right? So the mind goes a little crazy on monkey mind. So how we let and allow is focus on other things, your actions, serving others, and going out there and being grateful for what already is. Anybody can do that right now. I can be grateful I got clean water today. And to go to a well, clean the water and all this stuff, I could just open up the faucet, tap water, whatever it is. Right? And then step 5, stay consistent. Just like the gym examples, not going to be an overnight success going to the gym 1 week, right? Got to steadily progress, be consistent with this and do it every day for 5 minutes. But if you do that, you're going to start really being with the vision. You're going to start dropping those seeds in the subconscious. Things are going to start to naturally come your way. Super simple, but it's not always simple to actually do it. It's different.
You know what, Scott, as you were talking, like going through the steps, it's a lot like building a brand.
Yeah.
Like branding's an overtime thing. It's not an overnight thing. And to build a brand, there's a lot of those same, I'm a marketing guy. And so like, it's a lot of those same steps, like see it, believe it, make activity to it, stack, these things together, and you start to build the equity around what you're envisioning. I mean, it's interesting, but there's a lot of truth to it. And I do think, whatever you call it, there's steps involved to get to any goal, right? Mm-hmm. And you have to stack those up. You got to knock them down. And it's amazing how much faster you get there when you're in the mental place, the right mental place to do it. I mean, that's got to, I would think with what you do, Scott, getting people to that frame of mind has got to be like step one, isn't it?
The mental space is 100% step one. I think that was well said, Ryan, because if you're not mentally preparing yourself for where you're trying to go, there's this empty space. Let's talk about the athlete, because I think everyone can see that, right? That champion person has already seen themselves with the first place trophy, the medal, whatever it is. You hear about those stories all the time. I've already been there. I've already been the opponents. I've already been there, right? What they've done is they've prepared the inner space. And when they go on that mat, or when they go in that game, or when they go to that whatever sports event that's going on, they're already coming there with a confidence that most of the other team competitors or other people involved aren't even close to. And that confidence rules their behavior, their action, their whole entire body starts to coordinate based on the mental image. And being in that place starts to prepare you. So that mental activity is so important, preparing yourself. What do I really want? And being in that intent starts to prepare you for actually getting there and progressing.
You said this earlier and you just said it again, Scott. What do I really want? That's a bigger part of the problem than people like do justice to. I've been guilty of that. What do I really like? I'm using a phrase now, Scott, like when I'm a cynical person by nature and sometimes, but not to be cynical, but more like I ask myself, to what end? To what end? I.e., like, what's the point? Like, and or the purpose or whatever it is. And it's a powerful thing when you force yourself to answer to what end, i.e., what do you really want? What's the outcome? Because we all get a little wishy-washy in that sometimes. Or, and if you aren't clear, they compete with one another.
Yes.
I want this and this or this, and I'm not sure. Well, they're all fighting. Even if they seem like they might be the same destination, they're not.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine going on like a cruise from New York City and you're like, okay, let's go down to, one of the islands south. But then tomorrow you're like, well, let's go to Alaska. And you're like, okay, well, let's go here. And then, you're spinning in circles. And before you know it, how far away are you from New York City ports? You're not
this is like the Alford family trying to decide on dinner. Right? Mexican, Italian, McDonald's.
Right. One easy practical exercise for this, it's actually fun to do, is if you are around a campfire with some buddies, some friends, some people that you could just talk freely about anything with, and you can wave a magic wand. That's how this works, but you're just doing it as an exercise. Tomorrow could be any life that you want. What would you describe to your buddies and friends? What would you say? And those people that are around you, make sure those are the like-minded people. You're not actually doing this. You're not doing it campfire. You're doing it mentally. They say, well, I would like to have this freedom. I'd like to have this going on in my career. I want this going on in my family. I want to be living here. And it allows you to not be so doubtful, because often we decide on what we want based on what we think is possible. And sometimes what we think is possible is just part of our conditioned paradigm we've lived with for far too long. Most of us, probably all of us, are really having so much more capacity that we could be living, but we're holding ourselves back. So that mental exercise, you can start thinking, well, if I wove a magic wand, what would I do with my life? And what would I be talking about? And what would I want to do truly tomorrow? And from that place, you can start having a want that's cohesive and coherent with not having a battle of different wants, but the same one. The family saying, yeah, let's all grab Italian because we all want spaghetti and pasta and meatballs and all these other things. Like, Now we can go.
Chris, thoughts here?
I'm a big believer in visualization, manifestation. I've seen it happen in my own life. And I like what you kind of nailed it, Ryan. It's like whatever you want to call it, right? You compared it to building a brand. I mean, all creating a business is literally manifesting. It's the same exact thing. Like you're taking something from your mind, molding it, and then next thing you know, you're looking at a product, service, whatever, right? So, and anyone who's built a business knows like the mental intention that probably went into creating that. So I would say, I like to tell people, like, you've done this before. You just haven't used it in other aspects of your life. It's like we've limited ourselves to use these things in I would say school and education, right? But you can do anything. And I would totally agree with you on, you have to believe it, because I've been on both sides of that fence too, working through my own belief patterns and whatnot of, you can listen to all these affirmations you want, but if it's not resonating with your soul, it's not going to do you any good. It's just kind of, it's noise. So, and I don't know how to, Ryan asked a great question. How do you kind of unload that baggage? And some of that's like, some I think just kind of comes to you when it's supposed to, right? The wisdom kind of just download comes and it clicks and you're like, oh, dang, I recognize now that I've been in a cycle or whatever it might be. And that goes back to what I said, just, you have to take intentional time to work on this, with so much distraction. We have so much grabbing our attention that you really need to block out that time to really sit and visualize, meditate, whatever it is you want to call it, to really feel that and put yourself in that state. I know that's something that I've really focused on the last year, of really trying to take that time and experience it, right? Like the brain doesn't know the difference between imagined experience and real experience. So I encourage everybody to do some research into this and obviously check out your program, because you definitely know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Just to add on to that, because I think that it's so powerful that you mentioned the mind doesn't know what's real and what's imagined. I mean, whenever we've all been there where we think about our memory, and it's like it causes our body to feel. It's almost like we're there. So when we're starting to believe even more, if you can actually see a memory that was something really joyful, and then change over to your visual, you can actually translate that joy to your vision. It helps believe a little bit. And then your body starts to react to it so well, because then you start to actually be in that conviction, which is really great. Quick story, I think that's really fun is, I know, Chris, we were talking about Miami before this. In 2019, I was living in LA, and I wrote down, I always wanted to meet some of these like thought leaders and people like Les Brown, like Bob Proctor, these people, because they were my idols. They were like, I want to meet them. I want to be around them. And I wrote in my journal using these 5 steps, I'm going to meet one of these famous thought leaders randomly, and it's going to be a joyful moment. I didn't say a name. I didn't say who it was. I just thought it would be awesome. I would visualize that for about 2 weeks straight. I was starting to get into that mental joy, shaking hands, talking, taking a photo. And it got to a click point where it felt so real that when I opened up my eyes, I couldn't believe it didn't happen. So it was like this trick of the mind is really weird coming back to 3D. Anyways, I stopped visualizing because I felt like it clicked. It felt like it was already natural. 1 month later, my friend was living in Miami when I was in LA, and he invited me to come down and stay at his high-rise building. He was like, come on down to Miami. You've only been here one other time. So I flew down. It was on Friday. On a Saturday, he's like, I got to grab some groceries. Do you want to come with? I'm like, sure. What else am I going to do? Sit in the room. We go in the Whole Foods in downtown, between downtown and Brickell. And I'm going through the Whole Foods. He's checking out. And as I'm exiting the Whole Foods, Les Brown walks by me in the Whole Foods. And I was like, it stunned me so much and shocked me. I was like, there's no way. There's no way that he just walked by me. I told my friend, I'm like, I know you don't know who this guy is, but I got to go check out and see if he's actually Les Brown. I go back there. I'm trying to find him. I don't know where he is. I see him over on the side there and I go up to him and it's Les Brown 100%. And I was like, Les, I'm a huge fan. You started my personal development career. And we had a 5-minute conversation. He knew Bob Proctor. So we all talked about that. I took a photo with him. And in that moment, I had tears when I was leaving because I'm like, that's how real this can get. If you're there, you can never guess in a million years, I'm going to meet a thought leader. I don't even live in Miami, in a Whole Foods. Like these things can really start to move your life forward. But once it clicks, once that conviction's there, it's super cool. What can happen? So.
Yeah, I have a lot of those examples. Like you got to believe it before you see it. Yeah, I mean, like you got to it's not just magically making it happen. It's just you got to clear the headspace to get there. And you got to then have your energy driving that direction. And you can call that whatever you want to call it. But if you don't believe in that, then you're fooling yourself, I think. I think those are the most miserable. I think they would never admit it, and I'm not judging anyone with this. But those are the miserable people, I think. I think because they cannot control their emotions or choose to alter their state of mind enough to believe that they have the control.
Yeah.
And doesn't mean that the pot of gold is going to land, in your living room. But it sure as hell won't if you don't believe it won't.
Exactly.
Whatever that is. Scott, where can everybody learn more about what you're doing, get in touch with you, etc.?
Yeah. So first, easy idea. My YouTube channel has a lot of free stuff on there. Drawings. We put out a video every week. Drawing videos, visual. So it makes it down to earth, very practical, like we've been talking about all the whole show today, which would be great. And if you're looking for more of like a step-by-step course, I have one on School, SKOL, Alex Hormozi, Sam Ovens School. And right on there, it's called Prosperity Magnet. And there it'll give you step-by-step instructions, but a little bit more in depth because it's a mini paid membership program. So I would say start there. It's an easy approach, getting yourself acclimated with manifesting, attracting, and just getting in that right mental attitude will be a good starting spot. So.
Chris, any final words here?
Check it out, everybody. Shit works. I don't know what to say besides that.
Yep. Hey, be the magnet for what you want. You do that. The law of attraction, it works. Positive energy. That's what we're trying to do here on Vibe Science. We appreciate you, Scott, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey, vibescience.com. The new website is live. We'll have all the highlight clips, the full recap of this episode, and hey, those Vibe Science sparks. What can you take away from today to make your life better? We'll see you next time on Vibe Science.
The content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe